Week 1 of the NBA season is in the books, and it's been nothing short of crazy. Before we talk about it, it's important to understand that we're only a few games into the season. Most teams haven't even played 5 games yet. So some of the things I discuss in this video might be irrelevant come game 82. The outlook of some of these teams will probably be very different come February, March. But with that said, it's also important to analyze how teams develop over the course of the season, and it's always fun to look back and see how maybe one team starts the season slow but then finishes on an absolute tear, or maybe how one team starts out hot but then falls back down to earth and struggles towards the end. Speaking of starting the season hot, Victor Wembanyama has been putting the league on notice for the first couple games. We've all come to expect greatness from Wemby defensively. Not that we should take it for granted by any means, because what he does on that side of the floor is nothing less than historic. Since Victor joined the league in 2023, there have been 13 instances where a player has gotten 8+ blocks in a game. Wemby accounts for 9 of those games. So again, let's not take for granted what we've seen from Wemby defensively already in his very young NBA career. But what has been most impressive for me this season is his improvement offensively, particularly in the post. When Wemby first came in the league, he was more of a perimeter style player, partly because he didn't have the strength to dominate on the inside. But it's clear it's been a focus for him and his training staff to improve on that aspect and to get stronger, so that instead of being pushed around by little NBA big men in the post, he's now bringing the punishment. He had 40 points, 15 rebounds, and 3 blocks against Anthony Davis and the Mavs to open the season. Just feasting on one of the best defensive players in the league in AD. He really made it a priority to utilize his added strength and to use his length to really dominate in the post and on the boards, which is something we didn't really see too much of from him in previous years. Like, he was getting the ball on the block, when in previous years we'd see him get it out at 15 to 16 feet. He really struggled to get that low post position just due to his strength, or the lack thereof, that he had in previous years. But now that he's added that bulk, added a lot more to his frame, he can kind of get down in the post and really get much better position than he has had. And his footwork and patience in the post and on the face-up has really improved over his career. It's just a thing of beauty at this point. In the past, he's had moves, but now he has counter moves too. And adding those counter moves is really essential if you want to go from being a good offensive player to a great offensive player, which is what we've seen from Wemby this season. His transition game is always magnificent to watch. He'll get a crazy block on one end, get the rebound, go the length of the floor, tween, step back, 3-pointer, 4-point play. I saw him do a 360 layup, like he was John Wall yesterday. Someone of his size should not be able to do what he does with the ball. And then pair that with what he does defensively, which is just ridiculous. He can guard on the perimeter. He averages 4.8 blocks a game, which is, again, just ridiculous. He is already looking like the best player on both sides of the ball this season. And it has people asking if we could see a year 3 MVP from Wemby. I'm not sure about that. But if he keeps playing like the way he has been this year, it's a real possibility that he could win MVP in just his 3rd season in the league. Continuing with another positive point of progression to start this season, let's talk about the Sixers, because they've looked pretty good to start. And that's to say the team as a whole has looked pretty good to start, because Joel Embiid hasn't. It doesn't seem like his body can hold up anymore. He looks old and slow out there. He only played 20 minutes in each of his first 2 games, and was essentially a non-factor in the opener against the Celtics. I think it's clear that his MVP days are behind him, which is exactly why I've enjoyed this 76ers start so much, is because this is the first time really in Joel Embiid's entire career that they've had a team that has looked this good without Joel Embiid being the MVP caliber player that he has been in the past. We're finally seeing a strong roster outside of Joel Embiid. Guys like Dominique Barlow, Quentin Grimes, Adem Bona, and Jabari Walker all playing solid basketball for them. And it's resulted in them being one of the only few undefeated teams left. I think one of 4 teams as I record this video. Obviously, Maxi's been amazing, scoring 40 points twice in the first 3 games. But what I've really liked from him more so than his scoring, obviously Maxi has looked amazing to start the season. 2 40-point games in his first 3 games. But what's really impressed me most about Maxi has been his improvement as a playmaker. He's looked to be more of a distributor to start the year. Part of that's likely due to him being a bigger focal point of the opposition's defensive game plans, and that move away from Joel Embiid as the central piece is really expedited with the play of VJ Edgecombe to start this season. He had 34 points in his debut, which was the most by a Sixer ever. He has 75 points over his first 3 games, which is, I think, the second most ever by a Sixer. The 2 things people were most concerned about with VJ coming out of Baylor was his jump shot and his playmaking. 2 things that I've been extremely impressed with from him so far. He hit 5 threes in his debut against the Celtics. He is shooting 40% from 3 to start the year. His stroke has looked clean. He's 100% from the free throw line, hasn't missed from there yet. And he's also looked really good passing the ball. He's finding his teammates on driving kicks. Obviously, he's athletic, so he's going to find himself in a lot of those driving opportunities. So to see him be able to make the right play, find his teammates when they're open in the corners and on the wings, has been really good. He's had 18 assists over his first 3 games. He's having a phenomenal start to the season, and if this play continues, I think those Dwayne Wade comps that he got at the draft might come to fruition. Obviously, there's a long way to go. Dwayne Wade is a Hall of Famer, but I really like what I've seen from VJ Edgecombe to start the season. One team that hasn't gotten off to a hot start is the Atlanta Hawks. They were declared one of the winners of the offseason with additions like Kristaps Porzingis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and people expected them to be pretty good in the East this year, but they're only 1-3 to start the year. Obviously, it is still early, so they could turn that around, and there have been some injuries to players like Jalen Johnson and Kristaps Porzingis, but this team is still playing far from the expectations that people had from them going into the season. Their defense is some of the worst I've watched in recent memory. They don't go in transition, giving up 21 fast break points a game, which is 29th in the league. They don't go in the paint. Teams score nearly 65 points a game on them in the paint, which is dead last in the league so far. And they don't close possessions. They give up nearly 13 offensive rebounds a game and allow 21 second chance points a game. These are easy buckets that the Hawks are giving up. When you talk about transition points, points in the paint, and second chance points, these are all the most efficient shots a team can get in the offense. So when you're bad at defending all of those categories, that's a real problem, especially for a team that's looking to make the playoffs. And offensively, they aren't making up for it. Trae Young has not looked good to start the year. Part of that is he's missing shots that you'd expect him to make, but part of it is also what he's doing offensively. Since Quinn Snyder came to Atlanta, he's made it a priority to use Trae Young more off the ball, which makes sense. Especially with a player like Trae Young, you'd want him to get kind of more proficient in moving off the ball and being involved in the offense when he doesn't have the ball. Like, he's not the only player that just kind of stands there when they don't have the ball. Like, Luka and Harden do the same thing. The difference with them is that when they're giving up the ball, it's now in the hands of somebody like Kyrie Irving or Kawhi Leonard, who can create for themselves and others at a high level as well. But with the Hawks, Trae Young is giving up the ball to players like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Dyson Daniels. And don't get me wrong, I like those guys for what they bring defensively and as complementary players, but they should not be in a position where they have to create for your team. They're not creators. That's not the kind of players they are, and it's resulted in some bad offensive possessions early in the season for the Hawks. When you're a team that had the expectations that the Hawks have had coming into the season, you're a playoff team and you're potentially looking for home court advantage come playoff time, you can't give up the easiest buckets in the game to your opponents and then also be below average offensively. Yes, I expect the offense to improve when Jalen Johnson comes back and Kristaps gets more integrated into the offense, but this is definitely not what people had expected when they talked Hawks in the offseason, even with the injuries. And lastly, I want to talk about a team that has greatly exceeded my expectations to start this season, and that's the Charlotte Hornets. They're 2-1 to start the year, have been buzzing offensively, no pun intended, scoring a league-high 132 points a game, led by a healthy LaMelo Ball, who just dropped a 38-point triple-double the other night. Also, shout out Keontae George, who has absolutely been hooping for the Wizards this season. But continuing with the Charlotte Hornets, the offense has been great. Brandon Miller looked fantastic in his opener against Brooklyn. He did injure his shoulder early in game number 2 against the Sixers, but he should hopefully be back soon. But even without Brandon Miller, the Hornets have still looked really good. Moussa Diabate has put together some good minutes off the bench. Colin Sexton has looked like the perfect scoring addition in the offseason, and the rookies have really stood out to me this season. Con Knippel, despite the poor shooting in the preseason, has not shied away from shooting the 3-ball, has really turned it on from deep to start the season. He's 11 for 19 through his first 3 games from 3, and has looked like a legitimate NBA shooter. My favorite thing about the Charlotte Hornets this season has been the play of rookie Sion James. As the 33rd pick in the draft, I thought he was a steal for Charlotte. I quite enjoyed how he played at Duke, and I thought he could come into the league and provide an impact on both ends of the ball right away, and we've seen that in Charlotte. He played particularly well against the Wizards. He scored 13 points, shot 3 for 4 from 3, picked up 2 steals and a block in just 20 minutes of action. He's one of those players who knows he's not going to get 10 plus shots a game, so he makes his presence felt in other ways. As a defender and dirty work player who can help handle the ball when LaMelo's off the floor, but then can play off of players like LaMelo and Brandon Miller when they're on the floor as well. I've also been really impressed with Ryan Kalkbrenner. He's shown some flashes of being a really solid rebounding presence and cuddle for this team, and he does a lot of the non-flashy things that you need a player to do, especially when you're a team like the Hornets who are looking to transition from rebuilding to competing in the Eastern Conference. Will they be a playoff team this year? I'm not sure. At the very least, they'll be fun to watch. The biggest question with the Hornets every season is health. LaMelo Ball, can he stay healthy? Brandon Miller, can he stay healthy? The last couple of seasons, they've started off strong, but then got hit with that injury bug and subsequently fell off. But I think this is the year that they could really sneak their way up the standings in the East, especially if they stay healthy. Overall, it's been a very exciting start to the NBA season. There was a lot that happened in this first week. I didn't cover everything. I definitely didn't talk about every team. So if I didn't talk about your favorite team, I'm sorry. I have plans to make some team-specific videos throughout the season, and those will be releasing in the very near future. So if I didn't talk about your team in this video, I would definitely talk about them in the near future in a team-specific video or in a bigger video like this. Don't worry, I will talk about every NBA team throughout the season. You will not miss out.